All right, so let's get into our park detail series for Epcot. In our park detail series, we take a very detailed look at each of the areas of each park. For Epcot, we're going to be looking at the front of the park, Future World East and West, and then in the second episode, we're going to make our way back to the World Showcase. This is Disney Planning Insights. Welcome to Disney Planning Insights. We provide vacation planning information through video content, blogs, and podcasts aimed at helping you enjoy your Disney experience. Hit that like and subscribe button on today's video and follow us on Facebook at DPI Podcast and on Twitter at Disney Insights. Now let's get to the show. So, Epcot has been around for quite a while. It actually just celebrated, or is just getting ready to celebrate, another anniversary. So Peter, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Epcot?
Sure, Matt. As you just said, Epcot is about to celebrate its 40th anniversary here in 2022 because it opened in 1982. Now, an interesting thing about Epcot is it is one of the two parks that Walt Disney did have a hand in designing and thinking about before he passed away 5 years before Magic Kingdom opened. And what he wanted with Epcot and what his dream was is that Epcot would stand for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. That's what the initials for Epcot actually stands for. So kind of like a little trivia question there for our viewers is what Epcot stands for. And Walt Disney's original vision for the idea basically came from his experiences at the World Fairs. So World Fairs were these collaborations of all these groundbreaking technologies and ideas from around the world that would come to these World Fairs. And he thought, what if I basically create a park that focuses on cutting edge technology, ways to improve the human living experience, and essentially have a year-round World's Fair. Now, unfortunately, he passed away in '66. Epcot didn't actually get around to coming out until '82. And so when Epcot did open, it had shifted away from Walt Disney's original vision and became more of a celebration of the human living experience with the World Showcase, as we'll talk about more. But we do still see some of Walt Disney's original ideas celebrated in the front of the park, as it is a look at the future and a look at the way in which humans are developing and growing and advancing in the East Pavilion and the West Pavilion, as we'll talk about in today's series.
What we're going to do is we're going to start with transportation into the park. And when you think about, an experimental prototype community, one of the things that Disney did was made sure that the monorail came to Epcot. And that is one of the main forms of transportation into the front of the park. You can also drive and park at Epcot. The parking lot is right outside the park. And then also you have the ability to take a bus from your resort or surrounding resorts to the park and come in the front of Epcot as well. Security is split up into two separate areas. Your monorail security will be done either at the Ticket and Transportation Center or at the resort from which you came from before you made your transfer at the Ticket and Transportation Center. The other way you're going to go through security is if you come off the buses or in through the parking lot. They have their own security checkpoint there now so that you can go through without having to use the monorail security as well. In the past, everybody came in, and even if you had already gone through security on the monorail, you had to go through it again at Epcot. That's not the case anymore with the additions to the front of the park. Once you get into the front of the park, completely redesigned front entrance. And one of the beautiful things that they've done is they've put this prism up in the front with a fountain and taken away all of the legacy stones and really opened up the front of the park back to what it used to be when it first opened, a more garden, nature type area that gives you a very good look at Spaceship Earth as you're coming into the front of the park. You have some shops up and down the side, and your stroller, your guest services, everything like that is going to be up in this front area whenever all the construction's done. Guest services right now is kind of tucked away in behind one of the old buildings for the time being. There is a lot of construction up at the front of the park on the back side of Spaceship Earth, which is, in all essences, the big ball. That's what my daughter called it the first time she saw it, and I think it's going to stick with a lot of people. But once you get onto the backside of Spaceship Earth, there is a lot of construction. But in Spaceship Earth is one of my favorite rides there. And it is a look at communication throughout the age of man. And it's a really cool, long Omni-Mover ride, but it's something that you have to do when you go to Epcot. Once you get past that and go up a little hill, you start getting into the future world areas of Epcot. And that's where Peter's going to take over and talk about Future World East.
As you come up past Spaceship Earth and the golf ball, as my daughter calls it, you're going to head to the left down the pathways. And as you come into Future World East, I want to kind of talk to you about what you can experience and what you're going to see as you walk in and start looking to your left and panning over towards your right. So as we look over at the left area, there is going to be where the Guardians of Galaxy attraction is, which we're going to talk about later on in this episode. But the other thing that you're going to see back there is the Play Pavilion. Now, the Play Pavilion is an indoor play area that's going to be filled with interactive things, as well as some activity areas, some jungle gyms, potential things like that. And obviously right now, at the time of filming this episode, we are of course still dealing with the global pandemic. So Play Pavilion is not open currently, but we do hope that in the future that will be open for you to be able to go in, sit down, take a load off in an air-conditioned building, allow your kids to go have fun and enjoy themselves. So I look at it as it's going to be a really nice rest stop for me, and it's going to be a lot of fun for my kids. As I come over from the Play Pavilion, I'm going to find Mission Space. Now, Mission Space is a simulator style ride where you put yourself in a cabin of 4 and you each take on a different role that's going to do something during your flight. There are 2 sides and 2 pathways that you have to choose when you get to Mission Space. You either have to choose the green mission, which is just going to take you up on a flight around Earth, or you can take the orange mission. Now, the orange mission takes you to Mars. And the big difference to know is that the green mission has much less G's on your body. It's a much tamer ride experience. Whereas the orange mission is much higher lateral and gravity and 0 G's and everything else like that, that your body is going to experience. So if you are prone to claustrophobia or prone to motion sickness, you might want to skip the ride entirely. And if you're more just motion sick, I think you can take the ride on, but you might want to opt for the green mission just so you have a more enjoyable experience. As you continue coming over from Mission Space, you're going to find Test Track, which is sponsored by Chevrolet. Test Track is a remarkable experience where you design a prototype car and then you take it through a series of performance tests. Great ride, lots of fun, culminating in the fastest ride in Walt Disney World as you head out from the testing area to check out your speed ratings. A fantastic ride for everybody, one of my kids' favorites for sure. After that, there's not a lot left in Future World East, but I will talk about 2 important things. And first of all, I'll talk about Mouse Gear. Mouse Gear is one of the largest single location Disney stores in the world. If you want something, memorabilia, toys, decor for your house, apparel, jewelry, purses. Holy cow. Mouse Gear has it all. It is an absolutely astounding shop. And right now they're renovating it, so it's in a smaller area. But the plan is to put it back in a building that was even larger than the previous one, which was already pretty massive. And then the last thing I'll talk about is the one small quick service restaurant in this area called Taste Track. And Taste Track during the normal times of year are going to house burgers, sandwiches, stuff like that, but does change its menu in those festivals I talked about in the intro, and will have different menus as festivals come up. And that's the last thing to say about Future World East. You will find the festivals kind of permeating into Future World East to the right of Test Track. So you will find some culinary experiences kind of pushing their way in out of World Showcase and into the far corner of Future World East, depending on the different festivals that you have going on. Now, Matt's going to go ahead and talk us through what would happen if we turned right out of Spaceship Earth and went into Future World West.
Now we're over on the other side of Epcot in Future World West. We're going to start at the Seas Pavilion, which is home to Finding Nemo. The first thing we're going to talk about is Coral Reef Restaurant, which is home to one of the largest man-made ocean areas in the world. This restaurant features a lot of seafood. It's debatable whether or not it comes out of the aquarium, but it has a really good menu. I'm not a seafood person, and I really enjoy this restaurant. The ride there is The Seas with Nemo and Friends. And you've got a couple of shows with Turtle Talk and some of the exhibitions that go around a basically working zoo type aquarium within this pavilion. As we make our way to the Land Pavilion, it houses Soarin', Living with the Land, and the show Awesome Planet. 3 great ways to get out of a rainy day and into a building and ride some really nice rides. Dining wise in the Land Pavilion, you have Garden Grill and Sunshine Seasons. Garden Grill is a family style restaurant that actually does have characters right now in this COVID time. Sunshine Seasons is a quick service restaurant that is really similar to what you would see in your resort hotel, where there are multiple stations that offer many different types of food. Living with the Land is a nice boat ride that takes about 20 minutes, and Soarin' is one of the best rides in Epcot. As you make your way to the Imagination Pavilion, you find Figment and his fun, family-friendly ride, and the Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival, which is another great way to get in some air conditioning and take a load off for a little while. Also in this pavilion, you'll find the DVC Member Lounge and the Disney Visa Card Photo Pass area. Both of these do require either a Disney Visa card or your DVC membership to get into. Now we're going to make our way into what's coming up in the future of Epcot.
All right, the last thing that we want to talk about in this podcast here today is a couple of things that are coming soon to this front of park area at Epcot that we're very, very much looking forward to. They've ripped out a fountain, they've taken out a whole bunch of buildings, they're completely revamping the guest experience up there in that front part. And Matt and I do want to talk about those things that are coming soon in the next couple of years at Epcot. So Matt's going to talk about something that he's been anticipating and looking forward to since late last year. Matt, go ahead and tell us about the new restaurant.
Yes, so Space 220 is a new restaurant that's coming into Epcot, and it is going to be kind of this out-of-world experience where you are actually shot up into a satellite and you eat in space. Or so they're going to make you feel like you're doing it. The restaurant is completely enclosed in video monitors so that it can play a space scene around you at all times. It is supposed to have almost like an aquarium feel where there will be objects and astronauts and all kinds of things kind of roaming around the restaurant. And then even at the beginning of your dining experience, you get an experience on actually leaving the lobby on Earth and traveling up to this restaurant. Now, the menu is not been released yet, and they've had a lot of issues with the head chef not coming on board and some issues with some of the glass panels. And like Peter said, I've been looking forward to this restaurant for a long time. It was supposed to open middle of last year, and it still isn't open now. So we'll see where we go in the future, but it does seem like it's on the horizon, and we should be hearing about it here real soon. The other new thing that's coming to this side of the park is Guardians of the Galaxy, and Peter's going to talk about that.
Yeah, Matt, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is Disney's way of bringing Guardians of the Galaxy into Disney World. We know, of course, that the Mission Breakout had basically put a new facade on the Tower of Terror in Disneyland in California already. And this ride is an enclosed roller coaster. It seems very, very interesting. And for those of you that have been to Universal in Florida, I believe the experience is going to be very similar to Escape from Gringotts in the Diagon Alley area at Universal. So basically what you're going to have there is you're going to have a ride vehicle that you sit down on. And these ride vehicles are state of the art because they will rotate 360 degrees, and they're going to allow the Imagineers that built this ride to turn your attention towards whatever they want you focusing on. It's essentially an increase in ability to the ride vehicles that are used in Journey into Imagination with Figment on the other side of the park. And so you hear roller coaster and you think, okay, lift, hill, drops. I don't think that's what you're going to have. I think you're going to have more of like pulley systems that yank you from scene to scene and bring you around, and still you are on a track system, but it's more going to be about the movement of the vehicles along a ride area and not your classic roller coaster experience. Something that I am very, very looking forward to because I love Marvel, I love Guardians of the Galaxy, and as I said, if the ride mechanism is similar to Figment mixed with Escape from Gringotts in Universal, like it's going to be a really, really amazing experience. The last thing that we want to talk about is more of an experience. So we've got a restaurant, an attraction, and an experience coming to that front area of the park. Matt, go ahead and tell us about that.
Yeah, so the experience is going to be Moana's Journey of Water. And in the classic style of Epcot, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of water conservation effort made in this experience and this attraction. But, you know, what the theming is it's going to be themed to Moana. It's going to be an interactive walk-through experience. So, again, they're taking a lot of these buildings and these at the time, futuristic-looking buildings. Now they're kind of dated, and tearing them down and adding a more nature section to the heart of Epcot, which in the original plans was kind of the vision, was to have your gardenscape and your nature area where everybody could enjoy it in the middle of the city. So this experience is slated to open now in 2022, but it looks like it's going to be a really nice way to kind of get away from the classic theme park experience at Epcot. So that brings us to the end of our first section of Epcot. Here soon, we're going to be releasing the second section, which will go over basically everything on the back side of the park, from World Showcase to the transportation in the back of the park and everything else that makes Epcot Epcot. So thank you for joining us today, and be sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you're notified when we have new content. Thanks for joining us today, and have a good day.
Bye, everyone.